and thank you for joining us with our Getting to Know Your Speedway Officer video series. I'm Debbie West of the Speedway Police Citizens Academy Alumni Association, and I'm here today with Officer Brown. And so I'm going to ask him a few little questions and kind of get to know him and see what he's all about. So here we go. Welcome, and thank you for taking the time out of your shift today to talk with us.
Not a problem.
So a few things that first, let's start off with, please introduce yourself.
My name is Officer Karl Brown, Speedway police officer, one of Speedway's finest police officers. Let's see, I've been with Speedway now for about, I got sworn in on December 4th, so it is now February 2nd, so roughly 2 months.
And how long have you been in law enforcement altogether?
I first got into law enforcement, it was 2000, not that long ago, 2013. No, I'm sorry, 2015. That's a big gap there. 2015. So I've been in law enforcement for about 3 years now.
And so where was your first job in law enforcement?
The first department I worked for was the Indianapolis Airport Police Department, which was a great department. And shortly after that, a couple of years in, I decided to transition into Speedway Police Department. So here I am.
That's great. So what shift do you work?
Middle shift. Middle shift starts at 1:45, and if we're lucky, it concludes at 9:45 once we are relieved from night shift. So 8 hours.
Well, that's not bad.
Yeah.
So how many calls do you take on an average shift?
It depends. Typically during the week, me specifically, it just depends on what beat I'm in, but I may get anywhere from 4 to 5 calls, maybe 4 to 6 calls. On the weekends, it tends to be a little bit more busier, especially during the warmer months. So we're going to get probably anywhere from 6 to 8, maybe even more calls than that. Some, small calls, and some are quite bigger, to say the least. So
what do you enjoy about patrolling?
Good question. So for me, I am the type of person that likes a variety of different things. With patrols, specifically being on the road, it's something different every day. You get something different every day. It's not the same thing, to say the least. You never know what kind of call you're going to get. You never know who you're going to meet, you're going to run into. Some days you'll have nothing really going on the first 4 or 5 hours, and then the last part of your shift is just call after call after call, and sometimes those calls can just range from a variety of different topics, but it's just a variety. I don't really like doing the same thing day in and day out. It makes me feel kind of robotic a little bit.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah.
Yeah. So can you share a funny story with us about something that you've experienced either here or at the airport?
Let's see, a funny story. I never thought about that one. A funny story. I've got a few, but they're not so PC.
Got it.
So I'll leave those for the fellas, I guess.
Right.
I don't know. Okay, so maybe not so funny. So there was it wasn't a call. There was a car coming down the street. I forget which street it was, and they didn't have their headlights on. No headlights, and they're swerving. And this probably really isn't a funny call. It's just one of those. Okay. So anyway, I get behind the car, pull the car over, make contact with the driver. It's a guy that I recognize from where I worked at the airport. And he was driving, and the crazy thing about it is, one, I knew him, but two, he had just rented a car and he didn't know how to turn on the headlights. So here I am thinking, I have a drunk driver, or just something's odd, fishy, something's going on. I know the guy, but besides that, he was just trying to figure out how to turn the headlights on. What he had was his daytime lights on, and the tail lights weren't on. But again, not funny, but just, you know, one of those things that you thought it would be more than what it really was. So.
So what are the most important things you think the citizens can do to help you as police?
To help me? Say hi when you see me. Speak, wave. Don't just stare. I don't mind either if people come up and talk to me just to introduce themselves. I know for me, I like to talk. I don't mind meeting and getting out and talking to people, just to kind of break up, you know, maybe the tension, if there is tension, in which there is sometimes between law enforcement and civilians, or the community, I should say. There can be tension. Obviously, people watch the news and social media, and it's, you know, law enforcement, unfortunately, is looked at as a inconvenience. You know, you pull someone over, you go knock on their door to talk to them. It's always, well, what do you want? Well, more times than not, it's what do you want? Who called you? Why are you here? You know, some of us officers joke with firefighters, because, you know, when people see firefighters, it's like, hey, yes, the fireman's here. But when they see us, it's, who called those guys?
So I don't know.
So, you know, with that, trying to break up that stigma a little bit, just saying, hey, look, you know, we're not all what you see or what's portrayed on the media, on TV. So, you know, there are some good guys, and I think most people know that.
Yeah.
But just introducing yourself, kind of like I said, breaks up that tension, and people sometimes feel a little bit more comfortable talking to you or approaching you.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, lastly,
Good.
what's your favorite place to eat here in Speedway?
So, I have had the chance to go to Taco 46, which is right here behind us, north of us. And then there's a place on Main Street called 1911. And one of my supervisors on day shift loves to go there, Lieutenant Sam Alexander. He loves to go there. And he gets a dinner entree at lunchtime. And the first time I went, I didn't get what he got, but the second time I went, I did, and I loved it. And I think I've been 3 other times after that.
Oh, wow, that
So,
sounds...
yeah, so I like that place, so go there. 1911, it's on Main Street, it's a good place. Charlie Brown's also for breakfast, that's another good place.
Oh, Charlie Brown's
Have
for
you
sure.
been there?
Oh,
Have you been there?
yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
A lot of times.
Those would probably be my, if I had to pick two, and you asked me one, but if I had to pick two, I'd probably go 1911, Charlie Brown's.
Sounds good.
One for lunch, dinner, one for breakfast. So that is my that's my take on that. What else you got?
Well, I don't know how much more time that you have.
Let's go.
All right. Well, what is your motto in life?
Good question. So for me, I try not to live with the wish factor, right? So, and what I mean by that is, you know, you see an opportunity or something you want to participate in or join or do, go for it. Go for it. You don't want to sit back and say, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have made that call, or I wish I would have applied for that job. So I go for it. And my motto, to answer your question, my mother told me this when I was younger, nothing beats a failure but a try. So, you know, the only way you'll find out is if you go for it. You know, and always, of course, put forth your best foot forward and give it your all. Don't just, you know, have to it. But as long as you put it out there, as long as you're positive and try to do the right thing and do the right thing, and I mean, you just never know which way tables may turn. So sometimes in your favor and sometimes not. But hey, you don't know unless you try, right?
That's good advice from your mom.
Yeah.
Moms always know best.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Do you watch police shows?
You know, I didn't. Take that back. Before I became an officer, I did. I watched cops. Everybody watched cops, right?
Right.
But then when I became an officer, I didn't so much anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's like you see it all the time.
Right.
However, the last 6 or 7 months, there's a show on TV. It's called Live PD.
Yes. I'm very familiar with that show.
I like it. I like it. I watch Live PD every now and then.
Yeah.
And part of it too is one of the agencies they follow are in Indiana.
Yeah, Clarksville.
Yeah, Clarks County. Yep. And I think Jeffersonville. I think
Yeah.
PD. And one of the officers on the, I think, Clark County Sheriff's Department, I went to the academy with them. So it's pretty cool to see. Hey, I know them. You know,
Hey, I know
to the
that guy.
Right. So, but yeah. So I do watch, I guess, Live PD occasionally.
Good for you. It's a good
Yeah.
show. So, is there a closing message that you would like to give the Speedway community?
I tell you what, I would encourage anybody, if they wanted to get a closer look at what officers do, specifically Speedway, and our perspective on different things, I encourage people to do a ride along, just as much as I would tell officers, flipping the responsibility, get out and talk to people. And that's one of the things our chief is big on, community policing. So it kind of works both ways. Like, okay, if we're wanting people to come and see how we do things, we should at least get out of our cars a little bit more, and I agree with it, talk to them to see how they're feeling or what they're thinking, or I mean, you just never know.
Right.
But that would be my message to anyone, specifically in Speedway. Just, if you want to check out what we're doing or our perspective, just a day-to-day, even if you just want to come in and look at the cars, just grab one of the officers or come by the station and just say, hey, can I do a ride along, or can I talk to one of your officers? If we've got time, we'll come talk to you.
So I am a graduate of the Speedway Police Citizens Academy.
Are you? Awesome.
And
awesome.
I think that is another great way to actually get to know some of the police officers and
Yes.
What they do. And so hopefully with this video, maybe, with talking to you, it might make people say, hey, I think I want to get to know this guy a little bit better.
Absolutely.
Because it's been a real pleasure talking to you today.
Thank you.
And I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and the community.
Not a problem. Any more questions?
And that
Keep
way
them
we
coming.
can get to know you
Sure.
a little bit better.
Sure. And I don't mind doing stuff like this. It all goes back to what I was saying. Kind of breaks. Not saying you ladies or you had tension, but
Right.
for your viewing audience, if they're like, oh, what are these cops doing today? They're always pulling people over. Not all of us are bad guys, and I'm not saying the guys that I work with are bad guys, but just sometimes officers get lumped up together.
They do.
And it could be an officer in another state, another town that has done something to tarnish their view or their input on something. And here I am in Speedway. I had nothing to do with that, but it's what I represent.
Yeah.
That they really don't like. So. But
Well, I'm glad that you're here in Speedway.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
So, but it has been really great, and I'm sure you probably have work you need to get back to. So, I appreciate that.
No problem.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you.
Well, thank you for joining us today, and stay tuned for more videos on getting to know your officers, the Speedway police units, and more public safety topics. Thank you, and have a good night.